$5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is legal tax defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about legal tax defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free, no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose, but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Getting some rain, that's a good thing. I had some people say can't get nothing done for the rain. Well, you know what? We're not going to complain like that. We're just going to be happy for what we got, and we'll work around it and do the best we can. Ron, you let me know if you see a light hit up there.
I will.
I told her about 11:05. So anyway, hey, got a good show today. Got Representative Heather Rhyne going to call in. She's over in Lincoln County. She took the infamous Jason Saines spot down there.
Oh, not yet.
Yeah, okay. She'll be calling us here soon. And we're going to continue on with this discussion that we kind of had last week. And a lot of y'all are probably saying, why is Representative McNeely so in on this? Well, I think we're getting ready to make a big mistake and kill off a whole industry, and I don't think it's all bad. So we got her.
I think so.
Representative Heather Rhyne, are you with me?
I am. Can you hear me?
I got you, dear. I'm going to turn you up a little bit on my side, but you're good. How are you this morning, ma'am?
I'm good. I hope you are.
I'm doing well. So anyway, hey, I always do this. I don't think I've had you on before, have I?
I don't think so.
Well, now you're famous. I do this to a lot of people, so congratulations. You'll be getting calls and emails from all kind of agents wanting to hook you up, so just be ready. Just be ready. Well, who is Representative Heather Rhyne? Tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are today.
Well, that's a great question. So I represent District 97, which is all of Lincoln County. And really just kind of got involved in my community, served on the school board for about 8 years and was chair of the school board. And then when my predecessor decided that he was going to step down, I threw my name in and said, I think I want to try this. And so just really enjoy serving my community. It's Lincoln County is great. It's a great place to be, a great place to live. And so I really just enjoy serving.
Well, and not only are you a wife and a mother of two girls, right?
Two girls, 19 and 22. And
they're getting a fine education, so they'll be able to help their mom in her older age because they're both going to NC State or just graduated from NC State. So good for them.
Yeah, and I say, I went to Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels. That's a running joke in our family for sure. But, I got my pharmacy degree from Chapel Hill and have been practicing pharmacy now for, let's see, 27 years, I think, 26, 27 years.
Well, that's pretty good because you're only 29, so you must have started early.
Right.
So that's right. Heather is one of our, not too many, but there are few women in the House, and especially on the conservative Republican side. So doing a great job for us. And the reason, folks, I've kind of reached out to Heather, we've always got along and known each other, but we're getting a little closer because we're working on the same issues a lot of times. And being a pharmacist, you kind of understand the industry. and the holistic side of this, of the hemp CBD industry, and then what's kind of going on with HB 328 that has the possibility of killing the whole industry. So tell us a little bit about, I'm all right, is there 6 or 7 classifications of drugs? I've seen some say 6, some say 7. I don't know.
So as far as controlled substances are concerned, we have Schedule 1 through 5, but then North Carolina has a very specific Schedule 6 controlled substance. And interestingly enough, if you look at our Schedule 6 controlled substance law, what we've said we're going to put under Schedule 6 are drugs that have a relatively low potential for abuse in terms of risk to public health and potential to produce psychological dependence based upon present medical knowledge. So they either we're putting stuff in Schedule 6 that has low potential for abuse, or there's no currently accepted medical use in the United States. And so currently what we have in Schedule 6 is mainly, your marijuana, your THC higher than 0.3% on dry weight. And so, in North Carolina, we're saying these things have no medical use, or they have low potential for abuse. And so we put them in Schedule 6.
Okay. And right now, I guess that's where, hemp CBD, is it even in any of the schedules because of the 0.3%?
So it's not. So it is actually an exception in our Schedule 6. If it's 0.3% on dry weight basis, it's not included in that Schedule 6. And so I think we probably need to look at these controlled substances laws too, because what's going on with the federal government right now, I think saying that there's no medical use for any of this, I think we are at a time and a place where we realize that's not true anymore, because there are actually synthetic forms of this that I dispense in the pharmacy. And so there obviously is a medical use for this, or we wouldn't be dispensing it in the pharmacy. And so I think we really need to kind of go back and look at our controlled substance Schedule 6 and see what we've got in there, and see, I'm not sure the last time that was addressed or looked at. So.
Well, and all right, so now this bill, it went over. It was mainly about age. It did have some other restrictions, regulations in it, but, the main thing we all wanted was to get at least 21 age. Senate took it, I would say, come close to gutting it and reconstituting it and sending it back to us. And basically they've gone from the 0.3% to 0.4 milligrams, like I said, about the size of a piece of sea salt, of total THC that could be in any of the CBD hemp products. In your mind, at 0.4 milligram, and I know you work with weights every day. I got a lot of pharmacy friends. I kid them. They can, most of them count to 31, but I know you're smarter. You're smarter than them. So you work with these weights. 0.4 milligram of total THC, that would be the 8, the 9, the deltas, the 10s, the 11s, everything. It's pretty much going to just make the products like Jergens hand lotion, is it not? You tell me. You tell me.
Yeah, certainly I think it would make that to where there's probably not a medical benefit for a lot of people. And I think that in defense of my colleagues and my people who, my friends who, were on this bill, the intentions are good, I think. I think there are
90%.
There are good things in there are good things in the bill, and I think there's not anybody that I'm aware of in our caucus that doesn't agree with the keeping this out of kids' hands and under 21, and I think that's a good thing. It also takes up our controlled substance scheduling that, was a bill we sent over there that they put in this too. Several pages of that bill is in there. And so there's some good things in this bill. My concern is when we've got people over 21, let's just take out people under 21 because we all want it out of their hands. But when we've got people over 21, whether you agree with they should be self-medicating or not, whether you agree with they should be having a drink infused with THC or not, the fact of the matter is they are. And so my concern is if we just completely eliminate this overnight, what are those people going to do? Because they're going to go get something somewhere. A lot of people are using, something to help them sleep or that sort of thing. And, when I look at what the federal government is going to reschedule this to, and actually already has in some states for licensed programs to a Schedule 3, it's interesting to me because let's say, somebody's taking something for pain or anxiety and those are scheduled drugs that I dispense in the pharmacy. And a lot of times, those would be in Schedule 2. Some of these pain medicines, which have high potential for abuse, like fentanyl and morphine, oxycodone and Adderall and Ritalin, those are all Schedule 2 drugs. But this is going to be a Schedule 3 drug, which is less potential for abuse than a Schedule 2 drug. And so it's interesting to me that we would be okay with sending people to either on the street to get this stuff, or to, back to their doctor, I guess, to get a drug that has a higher potential for abuse. And so I have some concerns in there. Again, not trying to sway anybody one way or another on this, just trying to put some facts out there for people because I really think this is an education piece. And again, whether you agree with, somebody should be taking a drink in the evening or not, of a THC infused drink or not, I think you have to realize that these people are 21 and over are going to go get this somewhere. And if we don't have a regulated market and this bill doesn't regulate the market, then they're going to get it somewhere. And I think that concerns me. It concerns me on a lot of levels for the family, for, what road that could go down for a lot of families who are now going to go to the street to get some things. And I think there's a better way we could address this, but it's so complicated that I think sometimes people just tend to go, I don't understand it, so let's just get rid of it. Whereas I think if we really dig in and we really look at the science and we really try to do something comprehensive, we could do a better job with this. And again, I will say, I think the intentions behind this were good. I'm concerned with the unintended consequences of it.
Well, I'm going to ask a bunch of questions like I always do, but let me ask this first. Maybe you can say you have or you haven't, I don't know. Have you, with the growth of this industry, and we've allowed it to grow since it was put in place in 2018 in a federal farm bill, said you could do hemp products 0.3% and less. And all of a sudden, a market was created, and it's grown now for 8 years. Have you seen less opioid prescriptions come through like your pharmacy or pharmacies or whatever as an overall with the uptick in the hemp industry? Has it kind of maybe taken the place of some of the opioid products that were just rampant in the early 2000s and 2010s? What have you seen there? Do you think it's taken the place of that?
Well, that's hard to say because I don't have the data on that specifically to be able to say, this has replaced this. What I can say are the side effect profiles from each of those, though, are very different. So, if you look in North Carolina, I think we've touted ourselves with a decrease in opioid deaths. I will say that. And it's hard to extrapolate that and say, is that because of this or not? But when you look at the side effect profiles of opioids versus hemp, I think you'll see that the opioids are, they're going to, most of the time, an overdose on an opioid is going to lead to death. Not all the time, but certainly has a higher risk of leading to death. Whereas an overdose on hemp or something like that, or taking the wrong amount, there can be psychosis. You can end up in the emergency room, but you're not typically going to die from that. Now, everybody reacts differently to everything. And I tell people that, even when you take a simple blood pressure medicine that's been out for years, I tell people when they come into pharmacy, everybody's body reacts differently. And so it's really hard to definitively say that, one has caused less of the other. But I can tell you the side effect profiles of both of those, when you really get down and look at them, we really should be more concerned about, people that are taking the morphine, the oxycodone, the hydrocodone, and those, like that's a lot scarier to me than this. And I think, it goes back to an education thing. It goes back to people. I think maybe there's a generational issue there where, I wasn't around in the 60s. I didn't see what happened then, but I think in people's minds, sometimes they think that's what this is, and it's not. There's some good actors in this space, and there's some bad actors. And I think we all want the bad actors gone. We want the gas station hemp gone. We want all of that taken care of. And so carefully laying out that plan and coming up with how to do that is important to me.
Well, and that's the hardest thing about this bill. It came back, and you've helped me in some of the language on this last go, but before that, I've ran these bills now for the last 4 years, trying to get regulations on this industry in North Carolina, and every time it leaves the House, it's pretty much a unanimous vote, unless somebody's PO'd at me on the other side. But other than that, it's pretty much unanimous, and it goes over the Senate, and then medical marijuana is put in it and sent back as a conference report. And folks, I don't think you understand, procedure's big in politics. And so this procedure doesn't really allow very little change in language. You can go to a conference committee and hammer out some of the things. And this bill had that chance, and we didn't really change anything. And so that's where the rub is. But a lot of the language in it was language that was in my bills too. So it's just hard for me to sit there and go, well, this is a complete no. I hate this bill. But yet, knowing that it's going to pretty much, no matter what the federal government does, and we don't know what they're going to do, but dadgum, I know they're going to do something, and we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. So I just don't see us making a move right now until the federal government figures out what it is they're going to do, because anything we do is going to be maybe contrary to that. And we're almost taking I don't know what you want. I don't even call it the high road. In this bill, it says we're going to remain at 0.4 milligrams, which makes our products in North Carolina totally ineffective in any way, no matter what the feds do. So we're going to make sure we basically don't have a hemp industry in this state, even if the feds change their mind and decide some way to regulate it. And so I think that's crazy, and I don't understand that part.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think there are people there are people who want that. They don't want it in this state. They just don't. And some of that, some of that is an education piece, because I've heard people say, well, this tears apart families and that sort of thing. Well, in my line of work, I've seen other harder drugs tear families apart.
Oh, yeah.
And loved ones die because of it, because there was no other option for them other than these opioids. And it's interesting. I had somebody reach out to me recently who, was in a car wreck and ended up taking 120 hydrocodone a month.
Wow.
And realized that, she was addicted, and now she's using CBD and so there's story after story out there like this. And so I think we have to keep a very level-headed approach to this and not be fearful of the conversation. I've found that just in my short time there that complex issues, especially healthcare related things, it's best to get people around the table and just kind of talk through and see what we can do to do the right thing for the people of North Carolina without taking away, the rights and the freedoms and some of the things they have, but also, keeping this out of our kids' hands.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I talked to one of our congressmen yesterday, matter of fact, and he says that right now it looks like they're in this continuing resolution they're trying to get done to help fund, that they're going to actually move the deadline from November the 12th now to December the 12th. They want an extra 30 days because they feel like they have a bipartisan bill. You got a Republican from Kentucky and I think a Democrat, I want to say from Minnesota or Wisconsin. I can't remember exactly. I want to say Wisconsin for some reason, maybe Michigan, up in that area, that are working together on some legislation that would regulate it. And he even said, why are y'all going to do something? We're going to do something. Just wait till we do our thing. And I completely agree with that. And so I think that's what we do. We take a look and see. I mean, we've been trying to get this regulated for 8 years, and now all of a sudden we're just heck bent on getting it done in no time at all, without very little input, committee work, conversation, whatever. So that's.
Well, I think there's some ongoing talk at the federal level. There's a hearing right now where there were public comments really deciding if they were going to schedule all of this under Schedule 3. And I think, we already have in our laws, if it gets rescheduled, deleted, or rescheduled as a controlled substance, that it'll be excluded from our Schedule 6. And so, if we don't get some regulations in place and figure this out, I think we're going to be behind the 8 ball in North Carolina when they actually do reschedule this to Schedule 3. And so you're right. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what comes down federally. And I think we've got to stay in tune with them and stay in contact with them, because I think we're going to see a lot of changes probably between now and November.
Well, I totally agree. And so as much as I would like to see an age put in place immediately, of course, this bill actually, I think the majority of it, if not all of it, doesn't actually go into effect until November the 12th. So if you're trying to say, well, we're trying to protect kids, well, we're going to let them go for about another 4 months, 5 months, something like that, about 4 months roughly, of not being protected still. So I don't see.
Well, and it's interesting to me too, because we sent that bill over about the kids, and if we're all concerned about that, then let's get that bill done, because we sent that bill over that just took it, and so. We're all in agreement on that. Let's get that done.
Yeah, there are all kind of bills over in the Senate from the House on regulating these products, and none of them are moving or going anywhere. Been buried for a year or more. Matter of fact, mine, my hemp side of mine, I sent to Kratom over. My hemp side's still in the House because everything went south there at the end of budget talk, and so it never moved. It can go, but. And I put forth to the caucus, all mine combined, and threw that out there. But there's other people who got bills, and I think you're involved in one or the other or two. There's plenty of options, just not.
Yeah, and I'll say, I mean, obviously it's my first term, and I've worked very well with some Senate counterparts on a lot of good things, and so I think there's some agreement that we could come to. It's just, I would have loved to have been on the conference committee for this, as a pharmacist. But I wasn't in the room to get to kind of hash this out and have the conversation, and that's okay. But I will say I have, feel like I have worked well with some of my Senate friends, and could probably work through this as well, given the chance.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about the industry to a point. And so we're looking, I think it's about a $4 billion industry just in North Carolina a year, and about 15,000 plus people work in this industry. So there's a lot of people out there that have, in debt for their business, and probably have home mortgages and car loans and everything else. So we're talking about, basically taking 15,000 people out of work, which means a pretty good sized number of people. And I think law enforcement has got behind this, and I get it. They want something. They need some teeth, and I understand that 1,000%. They do. They
Absolutely.
do. But I really think this bill is going to make their job even harder, because I think black market is going to come back, and you're going to have your what's the old song? Got my local drug dealer on speed dial. So you're gonna find what you're looking for, and it's probably I mean, and we worry about fentanyl. Well, okay, now we start looking at stuff on the black market laced with whatever. We know China, they love us. They send stuff over here they won't even let their own people use. I mean, we're taking a lot of things into chance, more so than we are now. Drug arrests are going to go up because people are going to be out looking and buying and purchasing. And that was always a problem. And real quick, I know we got about 3 minutes, and this is about a 3-hour talk. But the medical side of this, of what has been concocted and never been allowed to go to committee in the House, is very constrictive. It's right now, you're a pharmacist, you have customers you served for 27 years. I'm sure they know you know them, you know all about them, their health habits, whatever. So now if medical come about, pharmacists aren't even involved in that. It's a dispensary. It's a place you go to get just that. Talk a little bit.
Yeah,
what do you think?
A lot of states do it different ways, and I think, I wouldn't be opposed to a regulated market on that from a medical standpoint at all. But there are states that actually have a licensed pharmacist in those dispensaries, and I think that gives people some comfort to know that there's somebody who's, licensed and studied, medications and all those sort of things as far as the dosage. And so there's lots of different ways you could go with that. I do want to say, too, something you said earlier about law enforcement. I think we all want to help law enforcement in this. That's one of the good things I think that we're looking to do. And I did reach out outside of my county, I'll say that, to some law enforcement friends and ask the question, does this really give you the teeth that you need? Does this give you, are you going to be able to go in these stores now and, shut them down and test for it? And they're like, no, I don't have the money to spend to send this off to test and to do all those things. And so I don't even know that this bill gives them the actual teeth that they need. And so I'd like to see us do better with that as well.
Well, and you're exactly right. Like I said, there's no funding for this, but I guess they feel like they'll shut themselves down because their products will become ineffective and nobody will buy them. So it's going to be this. And I'm trying to play that scenario out in my mind of the end when the clock ticks. They've got stuff on the shelves. Do we have a fire sale? How does this play out? And then what happens to the spaces that were rented by these people and the commercial real estate and the people that own? Is the bankruptcy court going to overflow? I mean, there's a lot of things that I don't think we have the answer for when you turn a spigot off immediately without worrying about how much water pressure you got building up. And so I don't know. I can't believe we allowed, if we're going to get rid of it, why did we wait 8 years? Why didn't we do it in 8 months? So that's the kicker with me. If you don't want this, why did we wait 8 years to figure this out? So anyway, well, Heather, I told you it goes by quick, hon. We done ran up our time, but hey, I appreciate you coming on. And remember, I get 10% of all the royalties of whatever your engagements are going forward now that you're famous. So anyway, it's just how this is.
Hey, thanks for having me. You know, there's lots of unanswered questions for everybody, and hopefully we can just, put some facts out there and put some education out there on this. So I appreciate it very much.
I think we need to step back and take a look. I think we're jumping off the cliff and there is no bottom. So I appreciate you and I appreciate your wisdom on this and willing to educate us morons like myself who don't know what we're actually talking about, but I know enough to know that this is not the answer. All right, you take care. I'll see you tomorrow, if not before. Be good, girl.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, stay tuned for the second half of the show. What to talk about.
Keep talking for a second.
Maybe some technical difficulty, rare, but maybe.
I think I might have solved it.
Okay. All right, here we go to break, and then we'll be right.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
All right, back here with the second half of the show. If anybody'd like to call in, 704-873-9929. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. I know.
Sorry about all the technical difficulties today.
You know, into every life, a little rain must fall, so that's no problem. No problem at all. So, hey, got some interesting stuff going on I want to bring forth to y'all. You probably heard a little bit about it, maybe not. But so the town of Cary and the town of Rocky Mount, North Carolina, have been in the news lately for all the wrong reasons, of course. So let's talk about Cary for a little bit, which spent $24 million on questionable items that help run their fund balance underneath the level that the North Carolina Commission of the League of Municipality, they don't want. So anyway, got in a little bit of trouble there with the LGC. They call themselves, and they're kind of the ones that are the watchdog to make sure that towns and cities and counties also don't get themselves in trouble if they can help it. And like I said, this list of $24 million worth of questionable charges, town of Cary, over 60,000 transactions. And probably the problem was they issued about 828 Visa credit cards on the town account. So you get one, you get one, you get one. Everybody had one. It seemed like I think 60% of the employees had a credit card. I don't know why you got that many that need that, but they did. And so among some of the expenses, $4,200 dinner at a nice Raleigh steakhouse for the town council, 10 pairs of Ray-Ban sunglasses. That was about $1,600 worth for the town council. Hey, their future's so bright, they must need shades. Now, here's my favorite. They spent about $95,000 for a video production at a retreat in Wilmington. And we're not talking about the retreat. This is just for a video production that included a performance at the retreat. Not really sure what they performed. Now, they also spent about another $25,000 on a documentary about the performance at the retreat in Wilmington. It must have been a dadgum good performance if it took $25,000 to tell you how they come about it. I don't know. One council member also paid her grad school tuition with the card. Later, she had to pay it back. Dang it. What happened to the scholarships, you know? One of the weirder things, town manager, from what I understand, former town manager, you know, once all the crap hits the fan, somebody's got to go. Former town manager actually brought $1 million worth of property with the credit cards. And I guess my question, I got the two words, credit limit? Shouldn't there be some kind of limit transaction? I guess not. So you got 828 out there, and it sounds like there ain't no limit. So just go at it, people.
$1 million? No, is this talking about property as in like items, or is this talking about real estate property?
I think the real estate property, and I guess he bought it. I guess it had to go into the town of Cary's name. But why would you buy property with a credit card? I don't get it. And I think the town council had not approved the use of the credit card and had not approved the purchase of the land. But hey, it was too good a deal to turn down. You know, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, they were brought before the LGC, Local Government Commission, and pretty much warned that if they didn't get themselves straightened out, that they will end up being taken over by the LGC. That's something they do. They come in and manage it and fix it till it gets on its feet again. And really, we're just talking about putting a constraint. As the old saying goes, we don't have a taxation problem. What we have in this country on all levels is a spending problem. And so this put them down. And the thing about it is, when I was a county commissioner here in Iredell, I felt like I was kind of the guard dog or the hawk. I watched our fund balance. And with us, we couldn't fall below 18% in our fund balance of what we would need. That way we made sure that on the total budget, we had money to cover rainy day, the bad things, whatever. But if we fell below that 18%, we actually dropped from a AAA credit rating to a AA credit rating, and that would have probably cost us about 1% to 2% on any monies, bonds, and whatever we would borrow. And so you'd pay a higher interest. And for Iredell County, where we were, I saw that being, I don't know, somewhere between $2 to $4, maybe $5 million, could be more, depending on our debt on schools and school bonds that we write. And that's just money that, in my opinion, would be wasted because you could have done a better job of constraining yourself. And we did. And I remember one time we got down to 18.33 and I about had a conniption because I said, folks, this is too daggum close. You know, things can go wrong. Luckily, we were able to slowly build it back up. But we did a lot at that time. We built the new 911 facility, and we were finishing the jail. So we had a lot of stuff going on. But still, that has to be watched. Obviously, they didn't have that hawk at Cary. Now, let's talk about another town. All right, now for Rocky Mount. And like I said, anybody want to call in and talk about this, 704-873-9929. And yes, it's just waste in government. Rocky Mount went to a whole new level. Their fund balance dropped from $100 million, so they were fairly well off. A lot of this is COVID money. Understand, we all got pumped up on COVID money and, easy come, easy go. But in about less than 2 years, it went from $100 million fund balance down to $22 million fund balance. That's a 78% drop. And that was under the new city manager who resigned in late 2024. The almost sadly comical thing was he was fired from his previous job before he was hired by Rocky Mount for the same issues in Virginia at a town. So evidently Rocky Mount knew he was successful at burning up money, and they decided to let him come and burn up theirs too. And he did. And so, and once again, uncontrolled spending, too many people having access that shouldn't have access to credit cards and whatever. But he spent $17 million on land to build a casino without the town council's or the city of Rocky Mount's vote, their council's vote. He just saw a piece of land and he wanted them to build a casino and bought the land with the city money. So that was $17 million of their drop there. And also many of the people that this former manager hired were not qualified for the jobs they were hired for. So most of those had to be terminated after he was terminated to actually get somebody that could do these jobs. Now, the bad thing was somebody on council, a couple of them got the bright idea that they would jack up everybody's utility bills to cover the spending. There's only one problem with that. By doing that, that also brought the state auditor into play because they have unincorporated areas where they also provide power and natural gas and a lot of the other utilities and water. So next thing you know, now they're overcharging people that are not in their town limits who can't vote for them. And the cry went out and the auditor's office showed up and they dug in after the utility bills went sky high. And they realized that two of the members on the council owed about $30,000 together and back unpaid electric accounts. So I think they may be getting that straightened out. So they probably should have thought about that before they decided to use the utilities fund to help fix their mess. Now the LGC has threatened to take over Rocky Mount's government if it doesn't clean up its mess. And it's got a lot of mess to clean up. There was talk of raising taxes. There was talk of a lot of different things that went with the utility side. They actually tried to bill the utility customers, for what I understand, twice in 1 month. Hey, that always helps get a little extra dough in, So they blamed that on a clerical error. I don't know. But the one thing that these two towns have in common, Democratic control of each one of their boards. I know. I was just as surprised as you are. I love how they're the ones that's going to fix the affordability problem we had, which they created and continue to abuse. But hey, I'd trust them completely if I was y'all out there because it makes so much sense what they're doing, If hypocrisy added up to lightning bolts, there would be so many people die of lightning deaths a year. It would be crazy, wouldn't it? Yeah, where's it? So anyway, all right, moving on. Anybody want to talk about the craziness? Hey, there's crazy everywhere. 704-873-9929. Love to hear from you. All right, so moving on. After 569 days, the North State Journal, who had done a FOIA, Freedom of Information Act request, for then Governor Roy Cooper's emails, now candidate for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina, and his administration stalled every which way they could on releasing the emails, but they finally have released about 350 pages worth of emails from his first year in office, 2016, 2017. They're getting there, folks. It's taking a while. These are supposed to be actually in our archives at the state records. But for whatever reason, the Cooper administration kept failing to send them over to the archives. I guess, a lot of times things get put and lost in the email files, or, I get a lot of emails every day. I guess you just don't see it, But I know that North State Journal repeatedly asked, eventually took them to court, and then things started trickling out. So, but here's the unusual thing to a point. So they stalled, kind of a cat and mouse game, been playing out ever since. You look at that 500. This started back in November of 2024. Cooper's still in office, not long, but going out, wanted to see it. When they finally got it. So here we go. The funny thing is, so far, there has only been 2 emails out of 348 emails, 350 pages so far, that Roy Cooper actually was the one who initiated the email. So 2 different ones he actually sent himself, not one of his staff, out of 350 emails. There was a lot of basically yes and no replies to all the other emails. And coincidentally, the NNO, News and Observer, had actually asked for emails when he was Attorney General for 16 years, and pretty much got I think it was 16 years, pretty much got the same thing. Very few emails ever originated from Roy Cooper, mainly just responses of yes, no, maybe, later, hurry up, little one-word things. I just find that to be a little curious in all this time and all the emails that go out that basically when his first year, we'll see how many more he does, there was basically 2 emails that he actually initiated and sent to somebody. Maybe he still likes to use carrier pigeons. I'm not sure. Maybe he just likes to mail notes in the mail. I don't know. I will tell you something else, though. Hillary Clinton had her own email server. And I bet that was really handy. And they're not hard to come by. Yeah. I wonder if somebody else may have his own email server. Because you'd think in a year's time, you'd send more than 2 emails, Just saying. I'm just throwing that out there, folks. I don't know, but we'll see.
Not trying to start any kind of controversy or anything.
That's not my style. That is not my style. I am not that kind of person, Hey, where's that grenade at? Is that over there somewhere? Anyway. So we're going to see where this goes. We're going to see how this breaks out. I do think this is a little curious, but, the old saying, I guess Roy's a better lawyer than I thought he is because you sure can't catch him on much. So he's pretty slick. Hey, and he wants to be your U.S. Senator. I hope y'all feel good about the trust factor here. I know it's making me feel warm and fuzzy over here. Just saying. So anyway, all right. Anybody like to talk about that or anything else, let us know. So let's get into this a little bit here. So Todd Blanche, acting AG, is in limbo right now. Our U.S. Senator, Senator Tom Tillis, and John Cornyn, I think I'm pronouncing it right, from Texas, both are opposed to Todd Blanche's nomination to become the full Attorney General. That would be your top law enforcement person, in my opinion, in the United States. He has been acting. He was deputy before Pam Bondi stepped down. Funny thing is it's not so much they have a problem with Todd Blanche. It appears that they have problems with Donald Trump. And this I haven't really seen so much because I guess it's Republicans going back and forth. But according to both Tillis and Cornyn, they are willing to cut a deal to go ahead and let him be put in. So they're not really taking a moral high ground here that he is actually a bad attorney general, but they want something for it. And both of these people kind of fell on the opposite side of Donald Trump, and Tillis realized he probably couldn't win if Trump went with somebody else besides him. And John Cornyn, they actually spent, and I think this is kind of crazy, $170 million on his primary out there in Texas against Ken Paxton. That's something you rarely see a Senate caucus do, get involved in a primary, but they did with this one, and they lost. So that was $170 million that could have been maybe used in other states, could have been maybe used here by the Republican Senate caucus to help make sure we get good candidates elected. But basically, they said if the Trump family would agree to be audited on a personal level. See, Trump actually won a lawsuit against IRS for them kind of witch hunting him under the Biden administration. And so basically with that, they can only audit him in the settlement of the thing, only audit his businesses, not his personal level. And so now they want that to go away. And I think their plan is they feel like that will be some way they will catch Donald Trump in something, and they will have their revenge, as we would say, I guess. But I just got a real problem with that, that you're basically holding the American public hostage on the Attorney General's position to get a personal vendetta solved here. And I don't think that's quite the way we go. I know that me and Senator Tillis have not always agreed on stuff. I do respect him. I do appreciate the work he's put forth for the state of North Carolina, both on a state and federal level. But I do not agree with him on this, and I had issues with him on the Family and Marriage Act. I did not agree with that. And there's been other things in between. But I think this is where the bridge is burnt, and basically they dig a hole, too, in case you cross it. They're still going to fall into it. So we'll see. I think the crazy thing is Todd Blanche can remain acting AG for, I think, up to 120 days, and he's already deputy AG. So once the 120 days is over, he still has all the power because Congress, the Senate actually approved his nomination as deputy Attorney General. So he can continue to do everything he's doing now, just will not have the title of Attorney General. It'll always be either acting or deputy in front of it till his nomination's approved. Still go about the same work, still do the same thing. Just a different title, different business cards. So this will be interesting to see how this plays out. Will it be a weight game or what? All right. So I have real reservations about basically blackmailing somebody, and it's kind of what this exactly is. Of course, we call it politics when it happens like this instead of just pure blackmail. All right. Crazy as it gets, part 1. And so here we go again. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Boy, does he give me a bunch of material. He's my guy. He really is. He's great for chaos. So here we go again. Chicago has a new road program called Complete Streets Design. And it seems that this involves removing parking spaces on major streets and putting in bike lanes instead. One problem with that, a lot of these major streets are lined with businesses, and there is no really close parking to them. So now you have put them at a disadvantage by removing their parking spaces so you have a bike lane in front of their business. Some of the claims of the businesses say business is off up to 50% because of parking issues. And, of course, now the cyclists, they're starting to push back. There's groups out there, the little boroughs you'll call of all the big cities are hollering about, we want our parking back. Well, now the cyclists are coming back, and they say that the roads are too crowded and that this will decrease congestion. by having the bike lanes. And in some instances, they actually took out the parking and a lane where it was like a 4-lane and took it down to 2 lanes and the bike lane.
That's not going to help congestion at all.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. And then it gets even more confusing. So we're talking about Chicago. Now, this is not Los Angeles, and this is not Miami. So what? 6 months out of the year, are you riding your bicycle when it's snowing and it's about 0 and the wind's blowing about 50 miles an hour through Chicago, and I've been there, and it's cold? It's called the Windy City. A lot of people say that's because of politics and hot air. But, folks, I've been there, and when the wind comes off of Lake Michigan, dang, it's cold now. I'm just telling you, it's cold. So I guess they'll become ice skating lanes in the wintertime, and you get to work that way. Does anybody care if you go to work? Because that's what I've often seen from our bud, Brandon Johnson. You know, the last time I think I talked about him, he was getting ready to charge everybody a head tax. And a head tax is if you have more than 20 people working for you, that you would pay so much per head to the city of Chicago in a tax for those employees every year. So
I'm putting people to work, but I'm also having to pay to put those people to work.
Exactly.
Even more than I'm already paying.
The more people I bring into downtown Chicago, I've got to pay a tax. And evidently that's so it will help with congestion by helping fund build bike lanes. Now, I will tell you, a lot of this goes back to Biden. I think it was called like Rebuild America or whatever.
Build Back Better.
Yeah, Build Back Better. And that was $1 trillion or $2 trillion, $1.5 trillion dollars spent. And watching this from the transportation side in the House, we didn't get a lot of that money. Now, a lot of blue states got a whole mess of that money. And evidently, Illinois was one of them that got it, and evidently Chicago's got it. So, hey, we got to spend the money. A lot of strings attached to that money, though, on doing this stuff. And some of it was alternate transportation like bike lanes and stuff. But, sometimes you just say, thank you, but no thank you.
Right.
Keep the money. Put it on our national debt. Lord knows we need to do something there. So this every time you got your hand out, don't always mean it's a good thing. But I just think it's kind of a crazy thing here. So we'll see how this goes. Brandon Johnson has proved he's anti-business in many ways. So I think getting rid of the parking spaces at these local businesses that have probably been there in neighborhoods forever, just one more kick in the butt. Right. Just one more. So there you go. So when we ain't taxing you, we're just going to take away all your customers and your parking. I don't know what to say. Now, crazy part 2, and I'm running out of time. Remember this name. I like to tell you, Sia Weaver. And I want you to remember this is the radical far left director of the Office to Protect Tenants in New York City. This is Zohan Mamdani's right-hand woman. And Lord knows she is so radical far left, it's not crazy. Her quote that she had out, private property, including any kind of especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy. What the heck does that even mean? I don't know. So another quote from Sia, and then I know it's time to go. I don't think I'm out of my mind, she said to New York One interview this past Tuesday. We're still waiting for the poll to come back on that.
I think you could have stopped in the beginning. I don't think.
Exactly. And this is the rest of that quote. I think that some of those things are certainly not how I would say things today. So this was a quote was back in January, and are regretful. I don't know. She may stutter. I'm not sure. But, I do think my sort of decades of experience fighting for affordable housing sort of stands on its own. And that's why she should be the czar of the Protect the Tenants in New York City. And, folks, just remember her name. You will hear more crazy stuff from her. Come to find out, her mom was a professor, I think maybe at Vanderbilt, fairly well-off $1 million or $2 million house in Nashville, So she comes from hard times. She comes to hard times, Anyway, dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, we thank you for all you do for us and our blessings, Lord. We pray for us to be wise and understand opportunities and what they mean and discern them and make sure they are good decisions. All that glitters is not gold. So, Lord, I pray you be with us. Give us common sense. I know it's rare, but please bestow it upon us. Be with us in all we do. Keep us safe, Lord, and forgive us of our sins. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topic shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care, and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunce Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunce Johnson, where every detail matters. Call them at 704-873-7223 or stop by their location at 705 Davie Avenue, Statesville for your personalized